Hello everyone, welcome to New Art Exchange Online. Thank you for joining us today for this very special online event as part of Nottingham Mela 2021. My name is Marcel, I'm the public program producer here at New Art Exchange, and I have with me today Nicole Tiara, whom I'll introduce in a little bit. Nottingham Mela Weekend is a full takeover of the New Art Exchange building, and it's full of music, dance, poetry, workshops, family-friendly events and more. This year we're also offering a digital program of 3 online events, 2 of which took place yesterday and on Friday. Those are available to watch online on New Art Exchange's YouTube channel, so if you want to catch up, please go ahead and go have a look. And you can enjoy these events from the comfort of your own home, and in a minute Nicole and Judith will introduce today's event. This online program has been curated in collaboration with the HRC-funded project On Page and On Stage, celebrating Dalit and Adivasi literatures and performing arts. This project is led by Nicole Tiara, the Director of Postcolonial Studies Centre at Nottingham Trent University, and with Dr. Judith Nishari Barak from the Research Centre Emma at the University Paul Valéry Montpellier III in France. Just in case you didn't get her name yet, Nicole here is with me today, and Judy is going to connect with us in a minute, and they'll tell you more about the project and today's event and the guests that we have with us connecting today. But just before we start, I'm going to go through a few housekeeping notes. While delivering content online, New Art Exchange strives to create a safe and secure environment where guests, staff and audiences can work together confidently and in mutual respect. So please bear this in mind while you're making any comments on the chat. Today's event is being recorded and the conversation will remain online. Some of the films will also remain online for you to view at a later time, but one of them will have to be removed, unfortunately. So this is a very special chance for you to watch it. To ask any questions during the Q&A towards the end of the event, you can type them on the YouTube channel. If there are a lot of questions, we'll curate them for the panel, but feel free also to talk to one another using the chat, make any comments if you want. And finally, the work that we do means a lot to us, and we would really like to hear your feedback. Towards the end of the event, we'll post a chat in the chat and a link to an online survey. If you could take a few minutes at the end of the event to complete this survey, it would really help us continue the work that we do. And now, without further ado, welcome Nicole.
Thank you so much, Merci. Thank you for this warm welcome as always. As Merci has told you, Judith and I, we convene a research network on Dalit and Adivasi literatures and performing arts, and we were lucky enough to have received a grant in order to continue work, put on festival events. And we started, all kind of guns and all. We were full steam ahead in France, in Paris 2020, until we kind of got cut short by the pandemic. So now this is the first series of online events that we're putting on, and we're really pleased to be able to do it with NAE, and hopefully we'll have more events next year in person, because we also can't wait to see you all in person again, of course. But before we say a bit more about this, please let me very warmly welcome Seral Murmu, the filmmaker that we'll be meeting today. It's really wonderful to have him here. It's a real privilege, and it's wonderful that he has made himself available to talk about his films, have the films screened, and as Merci mentioned, 2 of the short films will actually remain online for you to view at any other point later on, which is really great. I would also like to welcome 2 other participants in the panel that you'll be seeing later on the slides. There is Patricia Francis, a filmmaker in her own right, and Purna Chandra Naik, and they are both doctoral candidates at Nottingham Trent University and members of our Postcolonial Studies Centre. So thank you to both of them to participating in this conversation as well. And now I'll hand over to Judith and after that I'll introduce Serail in more detail.
Yes, thank you, Nicole. Welcome to you all. Thank you for the introduction. We want to dedicate today's session, in fact, to Johannes Lapping, who passed away last spring in April 2021. So this is a very special event that would not have been possible without him. And Johannes is the one, in fact, who introduced Nicole and myself to the work of the poet Jacinta Querqueta and to Seral Murmu. As the translator of Jacinta's poetry into both English and German, he had participated in our series of network events last year in March 2020. Nicole was mentioning it. Those events, in fact, were organized as in-person events in Paris at a certain number of Paris libraries in collaboration with La Ville de Paris and the Institut Français en Inde, just before the first lockdown was actually implemented on March 16. Johannes worked tirelessly as an ally for Adivasi, but he liked to stay in the background. On his initiative, Dr. Ambedkar's The Annihilation of Caste was translated into German by the Solidarity Action Research and Information Network International, also known as Sondhayni, and it was published by Drupati Verlag in 2019. He also worked closely with Adivasi Coordination in Germany. So he's still sorely missed. But thanks to him, we can introduce Serail today, and we're looking forward to following up on Seral's work, hopefully soon, with other further and forthcoming in-person events to be organized in India and in the UK with our partners. Thank you.
As Merci mentioned, this is now the third and final event in a online series that we organized with the Nottingham Mela, New Art Exchange, and our HRC-funded network On Page and On Stage, celebrating Dalit and Adivasi literatures and performing arts. If you missed the other two events, as Merci said, they are now online, so please do watch them. On Friday, we had a wonderful conversation between the writers Anjali Kajal and Kavita Banod, and yesterday we had a truly wonderful conversation with the Kabbali group Shaheen, its founder and lead singer, and we've also treated two performances by this wonderful ensemble, so please do watch it in your own time. But now I have the great pleasure to introduce Seral Murmu, and I will stick to the script that he sent me. So Seral Murmu would like to be introduced as a filmmaker, a tribal filmmaker who is engaged in asserting tribal rights and raising issues through films as a mass medium. He was born and brought up in the federal state of Jharkhand in India and studied mass communication as an undergraduate. After finishing his degree, he joined India's premier filmmaking institute, the Film and Television Institute of India, or FTII, Pune, for a one-year editing course. After finishing this, he went back to Ranchi, Jharkhand, where he made a 40-minute documentary film in Santali, an Adivasi language, named Lahar Dahar. This film was funded by Accra Communications and was about the struggle of tribal people against the Mahanjani exploitation. The film helped fund a 3-year course in film direction and screenplay writing at FTII. In the short span of his filmmaking career, Seral Murmu collaborated as a cameraman, editor, assistant and director. As a cameraman, for example, he worked on the film Egrupada, which won the 58th National Award for Best Promotional Film. Before joining FTII Pune, he also worked with filmmakers Bichu Topo and Meghnad for 2 years. He is currently working on 3 documentary films funded by Tribal Research Institute Ranchi in Jharkhand, and he will also start shooting a feature-length film soon, and we'll hope that we'll have time to talk to him about this. So just to repeat what Merci said in terms of housekeeping, please note that you can ask questions in the live chat at any point, and we'll get back to those later on. Seral will now introduce his first film, Sondhayni, then we'll watch it. Afterwards, he will introduce his other 2 short films, Rawa and Remains, and after they've been screened, we'll all have a conversation about them, followed by Q&A. So Seral, thank you again for doing this. And now I'd like to hand over to Seral to introduce briefly his first film, Sondhayni.
Yeah, thank you for a very nice introduction. The film you're going to see is Sondhayni, and it is a 25 minutes short fiction film. And Sondhayni is actually a wild herb found in deep forest, and there's a myth behind this herb that when somebody steps on the herb, this Sondhayni herb, one tends to lose the direction inside the forest. And in the story, an old lady is narrating an incident to a person, and the person he's asking what is the he's actually asking about the painting on the wall, and this lady starts narrating the story behind those painting. And this film is all about those painting and the myths, and about the real incident. And it will, the ultimate, it will culminate to the ongoing protests and issues and problems related to the tribal land. Yeah.
Can you say a little bit about Rawa and Remains before we screen them?
Okay, Rawa is a 10 minutes short fiction film. This film is set in the central India, where the violent clashes between the extremists and the government forces has resulted in mass killing and forced migration. Uh, uh, the film happens in two parallel places. An Naxalite meeting a shaman deep inside the jungle, and two sisters lamenting the loss of lives due to this mass killing and this fight going on between the extremists and the government forces. And the next film is Remains. Remains is a short 5 minute film. Uh, it's a long take film. It's a single take film about how, you know people, displaced people, become stories. The memories and all. It is about a journalist who is there to visit a place where people have been displaced due to dam construction, and she's there to find stories. And the people who are there actually know that they are the story now, and they react to that situation. They know how and what sees the journalist is here for, and they're narrating a story. And you'll see later on how this story, the film ends.
ᱪᱮᱫ ᱤᱧ ᱞᱟᱹᱜᱤᱫ ᱦᱚᱸ ᱱᱚᱝᱠᱟᱢ ᱵᱟᱠᱷᱮᱲ ᱫᱟᱲᱮᱭᱟᱜᱼᱟ? ᱪᱮᱫ ᱮᱢ ᱠᱷᱚᱡᱚᱜ ᱠᱟᱱᱟ ᱟᱢ ᱫᱚ? ᱫᱟᱹᱲ ᱫᱟᱹᱲ ᱛᱤᱧ ᱞᱟᱸᱜᱟ ᱪᱟᱵᱟᱭᱮᱱᱟ᱾ ᱥᱮᱸᱜᱮᱞ ᱴᱩᱴᱤ ᱨᱮᱱᱟᱜ ᱥᱟᱰᱮ ᱟᱸᱡᱚᱢ ᱛᱮ ᱞᱩᱛᱩᱨ ᱠᱚᱛᱤᱧ ᱛᱮᱸᱜᱮᱫ ᱮᱱᱟ᱾ ᱚᱱᱟᱛᱮ ᱤᱧ ᱫᱚ ᱦᱟᱹᱨᱭᱟᱹᱲ ᱫᱟᱲᱮ ᱵᱩᱨᱩ ᱞᱮᱠᱟ ᱡᱤᱨᱟᱹᱜ ᱥᱟᱱᱟᱧ ᱠᱟᱱᱟ᱾ ᱱᱩᱠᱩ ᱪᱮᱬᱮ ᱪᱤᱯᱨᱩ ᱠᱚ ᱡᱟᱦᱟᱸᱭ ᱠᱚ ᱨᱟᱜᱮᱜᱼᱟ, ᱩᱱᱠᱩ ᱤᱧᱟᱹᱜ ᱦᱚᱲᱢᱚ ᱨᱮ ᱟᱵ ᱠᱟᱛᱮᱱ ᱪᱮᱨᱚ ᱵᱮᱨᱚ ᱠᱮᱱᱮ ᱠᱚᱛᱮ ᱠᱚ ᱮᱱᱮᱡ ᱡᱚᱝᱟ᱾ ᱚᱱᱟᱛᱮ ᱤᱧ ᱫᱚ ᱡᱚᱲ ᱟᱨᱣᱟᱞ ᱪᱮᱬᱮᱭᱟᱜ ᱨᱟᱜ ᱟᱸᱡᱚᱢ ᱥᱟᱱᱟᱧ ᱠᱟᱱᱟ᱾ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱨᱟᱜ ᱟᱸᱡᱚᱢ ᱠᱟᱛᱮᱱ ᱢᱚᱱᱮ ᱡᱤᱣᱤ ᱡᱤᱭᱟᱹᱲ ᱟᱨ ᱡᱤᱨᱟᱹᱣᱮᱱ ᱧᱟᱢ ᱢᱟ᱾ ᱪᱮᱫ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱠᱟᱛᱷᱟᱧ ᱟᱸᱡᱚᱢ ᱠᱮᱭᱟ? ᱟᱲᱟᱝᱤᱧ ᱟᱸᱡᱚᱢ ᱠᱮᱭᱟ? ᱡᱮᱛᱮ ᱦᱚᱲ ᱫᱚ
उनकिन आड़ान दो बांग को आजम नाम किया शेरमा आड़ान लेका अरवाल चढ़े किना आड़ान दो कोपालन होड़े को आजम नाम किया
कोपालन होड़ा दो चेत लगती इनखान इन कोपालन होड़मा बनी हुई क्या तबे हाँ लैया को इन तिना गाड़ी कोपालन होड़े ताया दा भीतर दिसम को नेल गुला ताहन और ओंडे चलाव कातेन बारपे दिन अड़ी मान सम्मान को एमा दिया आरे रुवाड़ हेजना गरम हाड़ाम उनका गाड़ी कोपालन होड़े ताया बुरु चोट रे मिट्टा पुखरी नामाय इखान एटा हर दो बांग को नामा ओका ओका दिन चो उना पुखरी आड़े खन जो बाहा को होय अगुई ताहन
इन गड़ मायो हो सेरे रुसिके गे ताहे कने आजा सेरे आजमते होड़ा मने जीवी निरड़ गोदोता है आज कुछ पर आज लेका दो कोई बाको सेरे नाड़ेदा आज गे गोज इदी तोरा किया है
हे बाबू फोटो माम फोटो के लिया अदा ना फोटो दम चिकाया से बाजार करम देखा बड़ाया
फोटो कट बिनाई जामुसिंग को नेलबा बिनाई ने
एते ना गरम कुड़ी चेक लेका ले नेलक कना
चेहरा के बिन नेलक कना बुढ़े आयो
हें
इन दिन खजक कना जे इन जहाँ तिस बांग तहन रे को उयहरኝ मा अदा नय बाबू फोटो रम दो किदिnya फोटो को बिन नेल बड़ाया ना पे उयहरኝ हतन कादना बाप पे उयहरኛ
नय सेरेñ को मान हा पे टेप दो के अदा नवा सेरेñ दो अलिñ सुमुंगा सेरेñ दो बांग काना अदा अलिñ ठेन खन दो ओडक पासनाय ना गोटा
अबेन कबेन उड़ू बेटा एकड़ा ची जामुसिंग अबेन कबेन ताइना अबेना दुरें को आयुमियालिंग और अबेना फोटो को नेलालिंग
सेदाय बाबा गोज रे गुलोची बनाम बाले एमा दिया सिन निदे रोआ एना अदा ओना पोरे दा आजा दो तोपा ठन ले इदी हटा दिया
अलिña सेरेñ अड़ांग ना जहाँ तिस अलिñ बांग जहन दो उनका के ना पांते बड़ा लिया धुती कमाया बाबूनी दड़ी कामा धुती कमाया बाबूनी दड़ी कामा नी गुजूरे दो निधि कन्या तेल कुपी बबू गय घाटते घाटे में नड़गन बबू उतरिय में घाटे में नड़गन बबू उतरिय में तू पूज बबू में दाजरो में काडू बाबू दुयोड़ू में काडू बाबू दुयोड़ू में तेने डूबो
ᱟᱞᱮᱨᱮᱱ ᱦᱟᱲᱟᱢ ᱦᱚᱲ ᱠᱚ ᱱᱟᱥᱮᱱᱟᱜ ᱵᱟᱠᱚ ᱩᱭᱦᱟᱹᱨ ᱛᱤᱭᱳᱜ ᱞᱮᱜᱼᱟ ᱡᱮ ᱢᱤᱫ ᱫᱤᱱ ᱦᱤᱞᱳᱜ ᱱᱚᱣᱟ ᱥᱚᱵᱚᱨ ᱞᱮᱠᱟ ᱜᱟᱰᱟ ᱜᱮ ᱢᱤᱫ ᱫᱤᱱ ᱠᱟᱞᱮ ᱵᱮᱱᱟᱜᱼᱟ ᱢᱮᱱᱛᱮ ᱠᱟᱞ ᱫᱚ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱛᱮᱞᱮ ᱢᱮᱱᱮᱜᱼᱟ ᱡᱮ ᱢᱟᱲᱟᱝ ᱫᱚ ᱱᱚᱣᱟ ᱜᱤᱛᱤᱞ ᱵᱟᱹᱞᱤ ᱜᱮ ᱟᱹᱨᱩᱵ ᱥᱟᱯᱷᱟ ᱠᱟᱛᱮᱫ ᱥᱚᱱᱟ ᱵᱚᱱ ᱧᱟᱢ ᱛᱟᱦᱮᱱ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱟᱹᱠᱷᱨᱤᱧ ᱵᱟᱲᱟ ᱠᱟᱛᱮᱫ ᱥᱩᱱᱩᱢ ᱥᱟᱵᱚᱱ ᱨᱮ ᱦᱩᱭᱩᱜ ᱠᱟᱱ ᱛᱟᱦᱮᱸᱫ ᱟᱹᱰᱤᱜᱟᱱ ᱦᱩᱭᱩᱜ ᱠᱟᱱ ᱛᱟᱦᱮᱸᱫ ᱟᱨ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱜᱟᱰᱟ ᱫᱟᱜ ᱛᱮᱜᱮ
ᱵᱟᱹᱫᱽ ᱵᱟᱹᱭᱦᱟᱹᱲ ᱨᱮ
ᱪᱟᱥ ᱦᱚᱸ ᱦᱩᱭᱩᱜ ᱠᱟᱱ ᱛᱟᱦᱮᱸᱫ
ᱠᱩᱯᱤ ᱵᱮᱸᱜᱟᱲ ᱵᱤᱞᱟᱹᱛᱤ ᱡᱟᱦᱟᱱᱟᱜ
ᱟᱹᱰᱤ ᱰᱷᱮᱨ ᱡᱚᱠᱷᱚᱱ ᱜᱮ ᱱᱚᱣᱟ ᱰᱮᱢ ᱵᱮᱱᱟᱣᱮᱱᱟ ᱤᱱᱟᱹᱠᱷᱟᱱ ᱫᱟᱜ ᱯᱮᱨᱮᱡ ᱮᱱᱟ ᱵᱟᱹᱫᱽ ᱵᱟᱹᱭᱦᱟᱹᱲ ᱠᱚ ᱡᱮᱛᱮ ᱩᱱᱩᱢ ᱪᱟᱵᱟᱭᱮᱱᱟ ᱟᱨ ᱥᱟᱶ ᱥᱟᱶᱛᱮ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱫᱟᱜ ᱦᱚᱸ ᱪᱮᱛᱟᱱ ᱥᱮᱫ ᱨᱟᱠᱟᱵ ᱤᱫᱤᱭᱮᱱᱛᱮ ᱚᱲᱟᱜ ᱠᱚᱦᱚᱸ ᱩᱱᱩᱢᱚᱜ ᱮᱦᱚᱵ ᱮᱱᱟ ᱩᱱᱩᱢᱚᱜ ᱮᱦᱚᱵ ᱮᱱᱠᱷᱟन ᱦᱚᱲ ᱦᱚᱸ ᱚᱸᱰᱮ ᱠᱷᱚᱱ ᱧᱤᱨ ᱠᱚ ᱮᱦᱚᱵ ᱠᱮᱜᱼᱟ ᱡᱮᱢᱚᱱ ᱜᱩᱰᱩ ᱵᱷᱩᱜᱟᱹᱜ ᱨᱮ ᱦᱳᱭ ᱫᱟᱜ ᱵᱚᱱ ᱫᱩᱞᱟ ᱡᱟᱦᱟᱸ ᱞᱮᱠᱟ ᱜᱩᱰᱩ ᱠᱚ ᱧᱤᱨᱟ ᱚᱱᱠᱟᱜᱮ ᱟᱹᱛᱩ ᱨᱮᱱ ᱦᱚᱲ ᱦᱚᱸ ᱧᱤᱨ ᱠᱚ ᱮᱦᱚᱵ ᱠᱮᱜᱼᱟ
ᱟᱫᱚ ᱢᱩᱨᱮ ᱫᱟᱜ ᱵᱚᱞᱚᱱ ᱠᱷᱟᱱ ᱢᱟ ᱠᱟᱡᱮ ᱜᱮ ᱧᱤᱨ ᱜᱮᱭᱟᱭ
ᱧᱤᱨ ᱢᱟ ᱠᱚ ᱧᱤᱨ ᱜᱮᱭᱟ ᱢᱟᱲᱟᱝ ᱡᱟᱦᱟᱸ ᱞᱮᱠᱟ ᱱᱚᱣᱟ ᱟᱹᱛᱩ ᱠᱚᱨᱮ ᱨᱟᱹᱥᱠᱟᱹ ᱵᱩᱡᱷᱟᱹᱜ ᱛᱟᱦᱮᱱ ᱦᱚᱲ ᱠᱚ ᱛᱟᱦᱮᱸ ᱠᱟᱱᱟ ᱨᱚᱲ ᱞᱟᱸᱫᱟ ᱯᱤᱸᱰᱟᱹ ᱠᱚᱨᱮ ᱫᱩᱲᱩᱵ ᱠᱟᱛᱮᱱ ᱟᱨ ᱟᱪᱟᱨ ᱵᱤᱪᱟᱹᱨ ᱟᱠᱷᱲᱟ ᱠᱚᱨᱮ ᱟᱹᱰᱤ ᱱᱟᱯᱟᱭ ᱵᱩᱡᱷᱟᱹᱜ ᱛᱟᱦᱮᱱ ᱟᱫᱚ ᱱᱤᱛᱚᱜ ᱫᱚ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱠᱚᱫᱚ ᱪᱟᱵᱟᱭᱮᱱᱟ ᱡᱚᱛᱚ ᱠᱚ ᱦᱟᱱᱛᱮ ᱱᱟᱛᱮ ᱪᱟᱵᱟᱭᱮᱱᱟ ᱚᱠᱟᱨᱮ ᱢᱮᱱᱟᱜ ᱠᱚᱣᱟ ᱚᱠᱟ ᱞᱮᱠᱟ ᱢᱮᱱᱟᱜ ᱠᱚᱣᱟ ᱨᱩᱣᱟᱹᱲ ᱵᱟᱠᱚ ᱨᱩᱣᱟᱹᱲ ᱟᱨ ᱨᱩᱣᱟᱹᱲ ᱦᱚᱸ ᱵᱟᱠᱚ ᱨᱩᱣᱟᱹᱲᱟ ᱪᱮᱫ ᱠᱚ ᱪᱤᱠᱟᱹᱭᱟ ᱱᱚᱰᱮ
ᱟᱨ ᱱᱚᱣᱟ ᱫᱟᱜ ᱠᱷᱟᱹᱛᱤᱨ ᱛᱮ ᱱᱩᱠᱩ ᱦᱟᱹᱛᱤ
ᱦᱟᱹᱛᱤ ᱡᱮᱢᱚᱱ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱵᱩᱨᱩ ᱥᱚᱸᱜᱷᱟ ᱠᱷᱚᱱ ᱠᱚ ᱟᱬᱜᱚᱱᱟ ᱱᱚᱰᱮ ko ᱟᱹᱨᱩᱵ ᱵᱟᱲᱟ ᱩᱢ ᱵᱟᱲᱟ ᱛᱟᱦᱮᱱ ᱠᱚ ᱟᱨ ᱚᱱᱠᱟ ᱛᱮᱜᱮ ᱦᱚᱲ ᱛᱟᱠᱚ ᱛᱟᱦᱮᱸ ᱠᱟᱱᱟ ᱞᱟᱛᱟᱨ ᱥᱮᱱ ᱟᱬᱜᱚᱱ ᱞᱟᱹᱜᱤᱫ ᱱᱤᱛᱚᱜ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱫᱟᱜ ᱯᱮᱨᱮᱡ ᱮᱱᱠᱷᱟᱱ ᱢᱟᱱᱪᱚ ᱩᱱᱠᱩ ᱟᱹᱲᱤᱥ ᱥᱮ ᱨᱟᱹᱜᱤᱛᱮ ᱪᱮᱛᱟᱱ ᱯᱟᱥᱴᱟ ᱛᱮᱠᱚ ᱪᱟᱞᱟᱜᱼᱟ ᱟᱨ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱚᱲᱟᱜ ᱠᱚᱦᱚᱸ ᱠᱚ ᱫᱷᱟᱥᱟᱣ ᱪᱟᱵᱟ ᱠᱮᱫ ᱫᱚ ᱯᱩᱨᱟᱹ ᱠᱚ ᱨᱟᱹᱯᱩᱫ ᱪᱟᱵᱟ ᱠᱮᱜᱼᱟ ᱯᱟᱞᱮᱱ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱩᱭᱦᱟᱹᱨ ᱠᱚᱛᱮ ᱢᱮᱱ ᱜᱟᱱᱚᱜᱼᱟ जे
डैम दाग
बेनानते अब को अड़िसात बोन
Are you saying anything important?
No, just casual talk. अभी तो लाइव
डैम दाग हिना बैरी दो बेनावना
कुड़ी गिदरा ओना स्कूल को रुवाड़ कथा मिटन
होय माने कुड़ी गिदरा को लैया ᱡᱚᱠᱷᱚᱱ ᱩᱱᱤ ᱜᱤᱫᱽᱨᱟᱹ ᱥᱠᱩᱞ ᱠᱷᱚᱱᱟᱜ ᱨᱩᱣᱟᱹᱲ ᱠᱟᱱ ᱛᱟᱦᱮᱱᱟ ᱮᱱᱠᱷᱟन ᱵᱟᱹᱭ ᱵᱟᱹᱭ ᱛᱮ ᱱᱟᱦᱟᱜ ᱫᱟᱜ ᱢᱟ ᱯᱩᱨᱟᱹ ᱵᱟᱱ ᱱᱟ ᱟᱨ ᱟᱹᱛᱩ ᱦᱚᱸ ᱯᱩᱨᱟᱹ ᱩᱱᱩᱢ ᱱᱟ ᱮᱱᱠᱷᱟन ᱩᱱᱤ ᱜᱤᱫᱽᱨᱟᱹ ᱫᱚ ᱡᱚᱠᱷᱚᱱ ᱚᱲᱟᱜ ᱥᱮᱫ ᱪᱟᱞᱟᱣᱮᱱ ᱠᱷᱟᱡ ᱟᱡᱨᱮᱱ ᱟᱭᱳ ᱵᱟᱵᱟ ᱥᱟᱞᱟᱜ ᱫᱚ ᱧᱟᱯᱟᱢ ᱦᱚᱸ ᱵᱟᱭ ᱧᱟᱯᱟᱢ ᱞᱮᱱᱟ ᱟᱡᱨᱮᱱ ᱟᱭᱳ ᱵᱟᱵᱟ ᱚᱠᱟ ᱥᱮᱫ ᱠᱚ ᱪᱟᱞᱟᱣᱱᱟ ᱥᱮ ᱚᱠᱟᱭᱮᱱᱟ ᱠᱚ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱫᱚ ᱵᱟᱝ ᱵᱟᱲᱟᱭᱚᱜ ᱠᱟᱱᱟ ᱩᱱᱤ ᱜᱤᱫᱽᱨᱟᱹ ᱚᱸᱰᱮ ᱠᱷᱚᱱ ᱜᱮ ᱥᱮ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱚᱲᱟᱜ ᱠᱷᱚᱱ ᱜᱮ ᱪᱷᱟᱱᱱᱟᱭ ᱥᱮ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱫᱟᱜ ᱨᱮᱜᱮ ᱰᱩᱵᱩᱡ ᱟᱸᱜᱮᱱ ᱱᱟ ᱚᱱᱟ ᱵᱟᱝ ᱵᱟᱲᱟᱭᱚᱜ ᱠᱟᱱᱟ ᱟᱫᱚ ᱡᱟ ᱠᱚ ᱞᱟᱹᱭᱟ ᱟᱹᱛᱩ ᱥᱩᱨ ᱥᱩᱯᱩᱨ ᱠᱚᱨᱮ ᱠᱚ ᱞᱟᱹᱭᱟ ᱡᱮ ᱵᱟᱝ ᱚᱠᱟ ᱚᱠᱟ ᱚᱠᱛᱚ ᱠᱚᱨᱮ ᱪᱚ ᱩᱱᱤ ᱜᱤᱫᱽᱨᱟᱹ ᱦᱟᱸᱜ ᱩᱢᱩᱞ ᱛᱟᱭ ᱧᱮᱞᱚᱜᱼᱟ
ᱱᱚᱣᱟ ᱠᱷᱚᱵᱚᱨ ᱫᱚ ᱱᱚᱣᱟ ᱥᱩᱨ ᱠᱚᱨᱮ ᱤᱧ ᱦᱚᱸᱧ ᱟᱸᱡᱚᱢ ᱵᱟᱲᱟ ᱟᱠᱟᱫ ᱜᱮᱭᱟ
Wonderful. Seral, if I can get the conversation going. You have studied in the Film and Television Institute of India, and we can see that FTII is very much present in the film, the credits of the film. Could you please speak a little about your experience as an Adivasi student in this institute? And also, given that your films address very charged environmental and political issues, what kind of support and challenges, if any, did you find from the FTII community in the process of planning the films and then making the films?
Well, FTI, I see, is I can say it's a politically charged environment. We have this uh, thing around there also. It's not a. I won't say that I had to go and tell them everything or the issues going on around India or my place. People weren't ignorant about that. They knew what was happening around them. And being a filmmaker and a film student, it's also necessary to know what's happening around you, what's happening to the communities outside your campus. So that way I can say that it was quite even the my teammates also, I didn't have to tell them everything, because we almost spent 3-4 years there inside the campus. And I can easily tell you that it was not a big task to tell them my position, as a director, or my gaze even. Or there were places, there were times then there was some problem about gays also. Yes, I can agree on that. But just uh, my fellow filmmakers, my teammates were quite fantastic on this. They're quite aware about what's happening about in and around our country and all. So being an Adivasi filmmaker, as a film student there, I uh, FTA is quite welcoming. I will tell you in that point. But it's nothing like being coming from a place, a rural place, and going to Pune and entering a big institution like FTI. I thought, there was a kind of also what do we say, uh, fear inside me that I don't know, I'll be facing people from metros and maybe two well-read people in FTI, but it's not like that. It's a cool, it's a very cool place to be, very what we say, politically charged. Yeah, there can be differences, there were differences with people, but we were eager to hear each other and acknowledge what his where he's coming from and what his point of view is. So that way I won't say, but yeah, the thing is, there weren't many tribal filmmakers who were there before me. I can tell you about 2 3 seniors who were tribal, who were there. Before that, I don't know people were there. I think tribal students were there, but I don't think anybody, I don't see their work you know prominently. I don't see them working now. So but that is different different will talk altogether, why they are
Right.
not able to make that film after passing out from FTI. But overall my experience was, yeah, it was quite good. The people, the environment, the community was quite welcoming, and they're always welcoming new people, people coming from different communities, from different part of the country. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much, Seral. It's wonderful to watch the films again. It's always almost as fresh as the first time. And I can tell you, I'm keeping an eye on the YouTube, chat, and there are a lot of extremely, positive and supportive comments, even coming from Jay and Serail, who is there as well, and who is showing his appreciation and support. So it's
Yeah,
wonderful.
thank you.
Something I want to ask you, I mean, there are many subtle and subterranean ways violence creeps into the films, intrudes into the forest upon the characters. But it does so more indirectly rather than directly. So, for instance, the lyrics of the songs that are sung by the women, the armed men who walk past the window outside the house. Is it saying that the violence can only be suggested and not fully portrayed? Is it a way to keep it at bay until the audience can actually grasp it more fully? Or, paradoxically, is it a way to make it more visible? So what exactly did you want to achieve with in your treatment of violence, in fact, on screen?
Well, to answer this, I think it's a personal thing also, because there was an incident near my place where I can say I have seen a bit of bloodshed and all. So for me, even it's not appreciable for me to I have already been through this. I don't want all those blunt bloodshed and killings. I don't want to show them as direct. And then I know that the trauma and the feelings can be easily portrayed through other means. uh, for me, this suggestive thing that a lady is singing about her son's absence, and also she's also uh, showing some empathy. See, I can say I am showing a certain kind of empathy towards my people there. It can be the extremist people also, because we if you see the present scenario there, the people who are fighting are both from the same community. Uh, the people, extremist people, they are also tribal people and all. The paramilitary forces, I see even my cousin is also into this paramilitary force, but I can see both. They both are helpless actually. The kind of you're forced to go and fight somebody you don't know, or maybe you're going to you know uh, go and find somebody whom they are, you never know, they've not harmed you, anything like that, but there is a clash, bloodshed going on. So I think this is also I never thought of, one thing is, I don't want to show bloodshed also, but from inherent also, I never thought of using any bloodshed on the, because I deeply think this. It was quite disturbing for me, actually. I'm saying, for me to show or even see for myself all those things. And so it was not my, what we say, it's decision to not show all this bloodshed and all. There are other means I can easily,
Yes.
convey those feelings. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Seral. Just reflecting on your wonderful films, absolutely enjoyed watching them. I'm just thinking, Remains, the little girl is left behind. The young girl is operating the camera. The women are concerned about images being captured, and they sing about not belonging to them anymore. And there seems to be an awareness of colonialism, maybe not patriarchy. I'm interested to know what you think about that. But a power and control. So women do play a major part. Well, they don't play a major part in your films, but their presence seems to have significance. So they represent elders, safeguarding tradition, protecting youth, the next generation. What do you perceive is the role, the cultural role of women? And what statements are you making about women in your films?
Well, if you see all of my three films, yeah, you said it correctly that the women are not, on the forefront. You'll not see in my film, but yeah, the whole of the story, the girl, the whole, the long take, the remains, all the talks are going on about the little girl who is gone missing because of the displacement of the construction of dam. uh, the women are not present there, but the whole story and the, so those the background of what, or the suffering, and what happened is, this was from a real incident. Actually, I went to a friend's place who is a fellow filmmaker, and it was actually his home. And he said that how his family actually, uh, were forced to migrate to different places, and how the women in particular had to, face all those things, because the men had to go around and work, and women had to actually move places. And there are too many things. And yeah, I would also want to reflect, yeah, in my Sondhayni also, I can say that there is also a difference when you see that the male community, they're there to in the forest, they're harming the forest, and the female, the girl, who is a, I can say, is a personification of the bird, and the women protesting, or they are all females. So when we were making films, we had this clear thing that, who are the protectors, and we and also in the Rava also, I was very close to those two lady, and they are my aunts. One of my aunts is not there now, you see, just she's no more now. And I used to sit around with them, and they used to sing songs, and they used to tell stories and all. So I was always like, they were the, what we say, these uh, flag bearers of, how to share your folk song, folklores and all to the next generation. They were the people who were actually, who used to do that for us. uh, yeah, and lost it. Sorry. Oh, where was I? So what was the question? Sorry.
So basically, it really was. What statements are you making about women in your film?
Yeah. So basically, yeah, it's not actually. I'm not saying it bluntly that, yeah, the men are bad or the women are. It's not. I'm not commenting on that very on the face. Uh, but yeah, there was a conscious decision also. There was, I tried to keep a balance between how much in my film, how much the men are portrayed, how the women are portrayed. And I don't particularly feel that there is a patriarchy thing uh, that much in tribal society as such. And yeah, that is it.
Thank you. And actually, following on from what you just said about folklores, you know, you growing up amongst these stories, your aunties singing songs. I mean, you in all your films, especially in Sondhayni, but also Rawa, you draw on these stories of your community, on the songs. And I mean, I'm glad that you also use the word folklore, because one could, describe them as folklore. So how do you approach these films? You know, because it's such a different medium, songs being sung in the home and stories being told to each other. It's a completely, in a film is a completely different medium with a completely different audience. How do you approach them? Do you want to preserve the stories to some extent, maybe an essence of some sort? Or do you feel actually free to develop them? You know, do what you need to do with them for the, basically, serving your film's narrative need rather than trying to be too concerned about keeping them intact as such?
Well, it's I think it's naturally for me actually. I have been with these stories, and I've been hearing folklore. It's nothing like I'm investing my time or energy into this is actually, I think it's naturally I have been hearing this. I have been uh, surrounded by people, this, even this Sondhayni, the story was actually narrated by one of my uh, uncle. And yeah, I remember once we were talking in FTI campus only. I was talking to one of my senior, and we were just casually talking about how rich the other communities are. If you belong to a Bengali community, you have a very rich literature, and your background, your theater and everything, all and cinema, you can say, is an amalgamation of all those arts together. So I was quite wondering that how can, I said, I don't have any literature, anything like that. We have this oral and all. So how am I going to, make films? And then he is quite, he said, you have a very huge, uh, vast, uh, enormous folk stories. You can go and dig around, you can see what's happening. And also then was I actually started investing myself into folklores, and why myths are important, and for society, why it is important for us. And yeah, later on I also there are too many things which were not written. I started going out and talking to people about folklores, and how is it going to, how does that impact our daily, how that act as a moral compass also. and uh, and yes, it is, and you, as you said, it is also important to document and keep that all intact also, because uh, as I remember this pandemic, this we lost some uh, very important storytellers or elders, those who will not be there around us now telling all those things. So it is also important for us to, those things are knowledge, and this knowledge will not be there after that person is not there. So that kind is yeah, my approach was not to just keep the document and keep those things intact, but also it was to tell a story, and tell a story through folklore, and to see how I can um, see how can we see the folklore and how it is relevant now, and how issues present now can be seen through it. And yeah, I also love keep gelling all those things, my experience, my stories, what I've heard, and how I'm going to make films. Even I am also, I never thought before coming to FT. I was totally into documentaries, and I'm also totally into this non-fiction thing. And I never knew that I will be into folklores, and folklores will I agree on that. Yes, folklores has some way given me a direction to how I can tell my stories and all. It's not just about telling folklores. It's also about the what we say, the forms also can be, I think it has uh, uh, given me some kind of form into my cinema. Yeah, I thought I've
Great.
answered
Thank you
you.
very much.
I think so, you have. Thank you. That was really great.
Yes, thank you very much. That actually leads to my next question. In your films, you show the forest as a living and breathing being. We see that the life of the forest and the Adivasi life are kind of inseparably interwoven. Any forest also disturbs Adivasi life, but the damage is caused by outsiders. And Adivasis suffer the consequences, obviously. By telling this ironical truth, the films not just expose the outsiders, but become part of a narrative of resistance. Do you do you agree with me? Would you like to read it?
Can you elaborate a bit
Yes,
more?
basically, the your films, they're kind of the way they expose the insider outsider, if you like, dynamics. Tribal life is very much interwoven with the forest, and any damage to the forest is also kind of brings upon havoc on tribal lives, disturbs tribal life. But this damage is not caused by tribals themselves. It is kind of brought upon the forest by outsiders. And your films, all three films, kind of show this dichotomy, show this ironical truth. Outsiders bring in the damage, and the tribals suffer it. So, by telling this ironical truth, the films are somehow kind of part of a narrative of resistance. They resist in their own ways by telling these stories. So, do you see this that way?
This I think this binary is it's quite natural. I think it's nothing. I'm nothing against the outsiders and insiders like that, but I think this is how I have experienced. What is happening around me, and how the powerful people uh, uh, are actually uh, do you mean to say that I should be agreeing or disagreeing to what you're
No, I
saying, or
just
something
want to
like
say
that?
that, I mean, many people might not agree with, um, do not want to be kind of labeled, narrative of
Ha.
resistance is a kind of, yes. So would you kind of, do you agree that that your films are kind of narrative of resistance? Or do you
No,
think
not
that,
actually.
mhm.
Hmm. I think I should be open. I think the audience should be open to that, to read. Uh, but it would be unfair to people who are into resistance with the tribal community. For it will be unfair for them, I think, for to build up this binary of outsiders and not insiders, and outsiders creating problem for insiders. But this is also a truth. There is also a truth that whatever uh, I will use this word mess. I can say created is also because of the outsiders community coming inside and uh, creating problems like how the cultural things is slowly. I was the film is talking about just the forest and all, but if you see deep, there are many intrusions, how the cultural thing is being killed, the language, at present now, I can give you the example how this one language one nation thing kind of thing is going on. So even if you see now, the cultural thing, the language thing, and this exploitation is still going on. And yeah, to a certain extent there is a binary outer outside. Yeah, I'm also saying yes, I'm also saying no, I don't know.
No, I think you kind of nicely
I don't
explained
want
it.
to hurt. I don't want to hurt this making this binary about outsiders, insiders. But yeah, we all know.
Yes, I just for for clarity's sake that I use that word. Insiders, outsiders, they can be very problematic terms to use in India.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very plain that you want to give your audience the freedom to react to your films and to to think what they want to think about your films. So this is very it's coming across in a very thoughtful way. I would also like to insist on the fact that your films, I mean, for the audience that we are, your films create a kind of immersive experience. Purna and you have just mentioned the forest, obviously, but the films provide an experience in which the forest is to be seen and watched and felt and heard as well. I mean, there is something very particular about the sound and the soundtrack in your films. There is just as much sound as silence, actually. So silence, of course, it's silencing someone to shut them up. But also, one has the impression that in your films, silence becomes a space that is enabling and protecting as well, as the forest in itself. So is it, I mean, can you tell us a bit more about the way you have been working on sound and the soundtrack as another way of expressing what you wanted to express, and also another way to engage with the audience?
Well, I was lucky to work with two very good, sound uh, people, Ankit Thapa and Shashank Kothari. So these two guys are complete, magician for me. So what happened is we were very particular ki, where to, I'll speak with Sondhayni, for example. Uh, till the gun shot, the whole it is about 20% of the film. It was complete natural sound. There was no nothing. We have added nothing on it. But after this gunshot, the whole soundtrack was it was sonically treated, and it was all sound synth and all. So there were two. I remember talking to my sound person Sashank. He said that there were two layers. One was complete this raw sound of forest, and the second layer was the synth. Actually, he has uh, because we when we were looking at the forest, it was completely normal before the gunshot, and when the gunshot happened, this forest is actually now the character, and it is responding back to the situation now. So the soundtrack after that thing is, it's all created, and we were very particular where to use silence and how much uh, uh, and also this film was shot near Pune, and there the forest, we didn't have this big trees. And I remember in Jharkhand we have big trees. And then what happened is we have this certain kind of reverb there. And if you talk when you go and experience those sound, you sense the certain kind of energy into that forest. Those were missing where we were short, where we shot our film. We were not allowed to shoot in the forest because of many restrictions. So my sound person went, actually he came back here to Jharkhand, and he recorded sound here. And we actually were very particular which soundtrack to use, which soundtrack not to use. And this thing about the reverb and how is it going to uh, play inside a 150 seated theater, well, very particular key, which soundtrack are we using, and how is it going to hit the viewer psyche. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think my question might be the last question, Seral. I'm interested in voice and hearing the director's voice, so your position in the film. Trinity Minha, film director, talks about, sorry, there's feedback, not wishing to speak for her subjects. And so I wanted to speak by them, so allowing them to have voice and speak for themselves. As director, what position are you taking in your films? Would you say you're speaking on behalf of the communities, or would you say that actually this is your position, this is your political take on the situation?
Uh, I remember this is, thank you for asking this question. I remember when I was starting, as a filmmaker, my approach was completely, you said, like, uh, I'll be, throwing ideas about somebody, or maybe there are problems when you're making documentaries, that you have preconceived ideas about people or somebody or community, and you tend to, force those things, your imagination, to those things. Yeah, and that thing, yeah, actually that did happen to me. And but slowly I remember, till the point we were shooting Sondhayni, I remember there's a thin line where you can, you can do those mistakes. I remember I involved people from my village. I can tell you, this story was told by my uncle, who used to work as a forest guard. And the I have to cross check with many people there. And also this Sondhayni, this herb thing, the myth about this herb, that if you step on this herb, this was told by my actor, Vikram Madi, who is a constant collaborator for with me. He has been with me for past 3-4 years. We're working together. And uh, all the songs which were recorded, there's and then the actor, and one of them was a actor. The Bikram was an actor. He used to act in a theater, but other people, they were complete, non-actors. They're from my village. And so what I did in the last two projects, I can say, this Rawa and this, I collaborated with people from my village and surrounding, and told them how can we do this, and also because I was unsure, how am I going to do that. I also wanted to help. I wanted help from others also. But this approach, actually what helped me is, it 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 gave me this, this I was free from this authority, that I am speaking for them. It's like they are together, we are together, and we'll be speaking uh we'll be telling our stories, like that way. So yeah, I agree with you that as a filmmaker, it is our responsibility to actually give them voice, but also be not authoritative to a point that you are, forcing something, your imagination, to for them,
Thank you, that was lovely. Thank you.
yeah.
So thank you so much, Seral, and Patricia, Purna, Judith. Thank you. I mean, we could keep asking you questions. We could keep going and going, but don't worry, we won't do that to you. We've got one more question from the audience, and then I think this will be the last one because we've run out of time.
We've got a couple, so if that's okay, if we have time to respond them all, that would be great. So the first question is from Anita, and she's asking, how much time and research did it take to make Sondhayni?
Well, this idea was about a year, I know, to make this. But there were this film which we saw was completely different with what we have written, about a year back. And research, I would say that it took us 1 year for a research, to actually go talk to, our elders, and how they're how there is also this thing that I'm very sure, I want to be very sure that I won't be making any wrong, what we say, portrayal of anybody or something like that. And that research, and also this geologist thing, it's very interesting. I went and we had this 2-3 days class with a geologist, and he actually told us when this mining things and all those things happens, and this, this drilling things is actually a mid work. And he actually told us the whole process, how ultimately, the mining happens. And now we are in a phase where it is, the mining is going on, and this fight for the mineral is going on now. So we went to geologist, we had a class there. I can say it's about a year, yeah, for the research, the whole research for the Sondhayni.
Thank you. And the other question is from Jayan. And he's saying, thank you, Murmu, for sharing those lovely films. Can you tell us a bit about how you use paintings and murals as a storytelling tool and their significance to the life in the region?
Well, actually, we were working on this. Me and one of my friends were working. He's a painter, basically, Guru Charan Murmu, and I'm very much a big fan of his painting and all. And what he does is, all the murals and wall paintings, he started painting it digitally. And from that point I was very interested, and I used to go around and see places and see what the wall paintings are actually, and are there any meanings I can read out from them. And yes, there are many stories. And it's a problem now that we won't find many murals nowadays, because it's people aren't doing much now. But yes, we were very interested in the whole thing of, if you I don't know if you have visited a Santal house. The architecture is also, very different and unique from other tribal communities. The whole colors used from the natural red soil and white lime and all those colors and colors which are used. I was interested in whole this architecture thing, and this wall painting and the way storytelling goes on. And I was quite also amazed, because this wall painting and all these murals are all only done by women in the family, in the village. And this is a community work. They go around, go to the forest to bring colors, red soil, white lime, and do this community thing. And I think this is an expression for them. They stay in house and do the household works and all. The wall paintings and all, no, that's their expression, that uh, the paintings and all, the storytelling going on the walls. Yeah, and I was quite, yeah, interested in them. And it is also an effort from my side to, see how I can develop my kind of film form for me. And it's effort for me to see what all things are going on, the storytelling going on in folklore, folk songs, paintings, and different kinds of, even theaters. There is also Santal theaters going on around. So it's also my interest to know the types of storytelling, I can, put on to my filmmaking, techniques, and can add on to this. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Jayan, and all the people who commented on the chat. It's always lovely. It's nice to know that you're there, even though we would love to be in a room with you, obviously. And thank you, of course, all participants. Again, I'd love to be in the room with all of you as well. So thank you very much. There's Purna, Patricia, Judith, and of course, Seral. Thank you so much for answering our questions, so thoughtfully and giving it, taking your time. Thank you. I learned so much, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do next. And we'll be looking forward to showing those works as well, and talking to you more. So it's lovely that we made this connection. And again, thanks to Johannes Laping, whom Judith mentioned, to whom this session is dedicated. And again, a shout out to, Johannes was there at the Paris events. Smutna Kuducina s vámi Jacinta Keketa, a fellow Adivasi activist and a writer in her own right, and of course Jamila Nishat. And if you want to see that and a recording of that event, you can have a look at our YouTube channel on page on stage. Yeah, Judith. Yeah, you're happy that I plugged that? Excellent. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Excellent. So, thank you all, and thank you for watching. And then big thanks, of course, to the New Art Exchange. Merci, Mir has been fantastic as public programs producer is your official title.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And our ever-present technician, Andy Lindley, whom you can't see, but he's just sitting there. So, thank you so much. Thank you all. And yes, we look forward to working more with all of you. Thank you.
I just want to reiterate, thank you
so
very
much.
much,
Thank you, everyone.
Julie. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much, Serail, for allowing us to show these films. New Art Exchange, it's been such a privilege. Thank you very much. And thank you, Patricia and Purna, for your great questions. So, hope to see you soon. And to our audience on the other side, thank you for joining us today. As Nicole and Judith have mentioned, the videos from these past few days are online on New Art Exchange's YouTube channel. So please do go and have a look. Any views help, and any feedback helps as well. So I've also posted the chat to the online survey. If you can take a few minutes just to answer this survey, it will really, really help us. And again, thank you so much, and have a good evening, day, whatever applies.
Indeed. Bye. Thank you.